burn it all down, blow it all up. At least that appears to be the card that's going to be played now as we sleepwalk, gently, slovenly, fat, and stupid into yet another catastrophic war. At least that's what it looks like. That's what all signs are pointing to, and a lot of disturbing information and movements, activities, rhetoric, and quite frankly, troop positionings, to be honest, are pointing dramatic, imminent escalation in the war in Europe against the Russian Federation. And what a convenient segue as old as time, where you can just zip yourself right out of hot water, right out of controversy, right out of a dangerous situation in which public unrest and scrutiny of government officials is reaching a fever pitch. Why not just start a war? They've been doing it since as old as time. It's always worked before. Why not do it again? So I'd like to just get out in front of this now while I still can, because I wouldn't put it past this government at all to take advantage of what is perceived as a dangerous situation. It's a war or something, and say that, Russian influence and foreign meddling and so on, it's going to be a facade and another excuse, a springboard to silence and, eliminate and get rid of even more voices and more political dissent, and clamp down even further upon acceptable discourse in the public forum in this country. And the only real contribution that we're going to be able to make is filling graveyards and keeping Raytheon's profit margins a little bit higher than they otherwise could be, Lockheed Martin and so on. We don't even have enough troops for a single division. The only real strategic difference that Canada is make or not make in colossal tragedy that they're orchestrating here is, when the millions and millions of death toll come in, is the Canadian body count 0, or is it dramatically higher than 0? That's what they're playing with, because you know what? At the end of the day, this is going to cost a fortune. It is going to cost an absolute fortune, and it is going to cost a fortune in not just money, but in blood. And in every dollar that gets spent and every drop of blood that gets spilled is going to be coming out of your pockets and your veins of your friends and family, not theirs. And as the supply chains breaks down, more and more, cost of living explodes, hyperinflation comes into play, and everything else that's coming down the line, it's also amazing. Maybe they'll blame all of the dead fish and all the burned down farms and all of the missing food. Maybe that's going to be the Russians too. Who cares? I mean, people were dumb enough to get a million booster shots, walk around with 15 diapers on their face, and follow lines around on the floor of a grocery store. So I really don't have much hope in them seeing through this one either. Oh, and by the way, in large war campaigns like this involving, huge global powers, it's not just the soldiers and so on that suffer and die and bear the consequences. There will be scores and scores and scores of dead civilians, women, little children, cities burned to the ground, things erased, things that you can't even describe. They're so horrible. But hey, fuck it, let's risk it, because there's a natural gas pipeline at stake. Guys, Raytheon, Halliburton, Lockheed Martin, we gotta make that money! Save those people in Ukraine! Yeah, that's the place. Thinking of the past few years, it wasn't the Russians that called me and you unacceptable people. It wasn't the Russians that mused and pontificated on television about what's to be done and how long should we tolerate these people. It wasn't the Russians that pulled your kids out of school and told them they couldn't go to hockey, that took your educations away, that jobs, sabotaged your careers, segregated you from your friends and family, told them on television, don't invite your unvaccinated friends and family over for Thanksgiving because they're the problem. It wasn't the Russians that ran an orchestrated othering campaign of a huge chunk of Canadian citizens, of Canadian public free people all through the country, demonized them, harassed them, gaslit them, and abused them. It wasn't the Russian police that were in Ottawa trampling people with horses, beating them with guns, confiscating property, damaged property, assaulting people, lying about it, covering it up, and then laughing about it and getting caught and not even saying sorry. And it wasn't the Russians that stole the basic human dignity that we had to sit and at least hold the hands and say goodbye to our mothers, our fathers, our grandmothers, and our grandfathers, because we had to sit, the furthest we could get was sitting out on the street as they died alone, isolated by themselves from behind a plastic sheet. Because we didn't do the pokey poke, so Wasn't the Russians that did any of that. It was Canada. So, I am against this 100%. While it's still legal to say. I'm sure I'll feel the repercussions for this later anyway. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, our enemies aren't in Moscow. They're in Ottawa.